From the Dallas On Air studios in beautiful Dallas, Texas, this is Fulfillment right here on DallasOnAir.com. And now here's your host, the Vegabomber, PJ Dunn.
Welcome, film fans. We are here. It is episode 9 of season 3 of the Fulfillment Show. If you're new and you're joining in and tuning in for the first time, this is the show where we talk all movies. We talk about the script. We talk about the directors. We talk about the actors and anything else. And if it's about movie collectibles, well, we do that too, and we'll talk about that as well. So joining me today, sitting to my right, is my right-hand man, John E Flix.
Morning, everybody.
Yes, sir. And that big voice that you hear coming off at the top, and sometimes we allow on camera, K-Zach.
Greetings, campers. Welcome to DallasOnAir.com.
Yes. So, gentlemen, you know what today is. Today is Oscar Day. And this is interesting because really, have there been enough films that are worthy to even talk about? What do you guys think?
Worthy enough for the Zoom meeting that's going to come out of this, because that's exactly what we're looking at today.
Yeah, 2020. Can we think of anything that was really just striking as it relates to film? There was some good stuff, but when I say like Oscar category, like movies like Terms of Endearment or Out of Africa or Platoon, movies like that really just, I don't know. This is a tough piece. So before we get into that today, what we will do is to give you a chance to understand a little bit about our taste and what we like. We'll get into our first segment, and then we'll talk about those Oscars, and then there'll be a disclaimer about that as well. So with our first segment, we're going to jump into Just Seen It, where we're going to get a sense to see what kind of films we've been watching, or maybe even books. So Just Seen It is where we're going next, and that's how we like to transition. So the movie that I have seen was a movie called 7 Yards. It's the Chris Norton story. So this is a movie I had to watch because finally we get something a little different. And so this is the story of Chris Norton, a gentleman who was playing football in college and got hit in a very weird angle in his neck and was told he would never move any extremity of his body because he would be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Well, Chris Norton said, I'm going to move other parts of my body. I'm going to walk, and I'm going to walk the day of my graduation when I graduate. 7 yards is the distance that he had to walk up to the platform to grab his diploma. And he needed some help to do it, but the doctor said he would never even so much as wiggle a toe. He can. He does, and he goes even further by just sheer grit and not wanting to believe and accepting what people told him would be limitations. Another piece that I love about this is the love interest. He gets a girl who's not disabled. So the idea that you're able to attract a woman, Johnny, who says, I don't care that he's in a wheelchair. I love the man for who he is. And she decides she's not afraid to marry him. And then there's another 7 yards set up. The 7 yards are them walking as husband and wife once they go through it. So when you see the grit here, and this is all live footage, right? Because it's rather current. So it's not made up drama piece stuff. It's here's the real guy. You can see it's the real guy. You can see when he can't shave. When you can just see all these aspects to it. But 7 Yards is a completely inspirational film. Forget all this other trash that you keep watching and all this other stuff that's so formulaic. Just watch this and you get that human story of first a guy who wants to defeat what they said, what the doctor said he could never do. And they actually mocked him.
Really?
Yeah, that he couldn't do it. And then this woman who has such a heart and caring for people that she said, yeah, I'd marry him, even though it would mean maybe we couldn't have kids and we couldn't do other things because he, right? And so you get both of these stories, and then by the time it's done at the end, you're just like, yeah, this is what we need. We need some stories like this because you see that indomitable human spirit that just says, no, I won't take that. I'm going to do the best that I can. And so, Johnny, I thought that was incredible.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so it's called 7 Yards, the Chris Norton story. If you get a chance, you can check it out. I believe it's on Netflix, so you can check it out. It's not going to get all the advertising and stuff, but it actually is a silently good film, and you can definitely appreciate it.
Very cool.
What have you seen, Johnny?
Actually, not too much lately. I've been pretty busy, so the most recent one I watched was a television show called Catch-22, based on the novel.
Okay.
It was pretty enjoyable. I don't think it's anything to, go nuts over or rush out and watch. Absolutely.
Right.
But there's some good humor to it. It's intentional.
Okay.
Gotta love George Clooney's role in this
Okay.
show, by the way. He's got a really small role,
Mm-hmm.
but it punctuates the whole thing so well.
Wow.
With his humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's so dry. It's so good. For people that haven't read the book or seen it,
Mm-hmm.
it's set in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
following a bombardier
Mm-hmm.
in a B-25, and he's trying to fly enough missions to go home, because during World War II they had a set number of missions they had to fly, and then they get to go back to the States. And he's sitting up in the nose of an aircraft getting shot at all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But his commanding officer keeps raising the number of missions every time he gets close
Wow.
to going home. And so
Okay.
he starts trying to do all these crazy things to try to get out of the missions,
Mm-hmm.
and ends up doing even more than anybody else in the process of trying to get out of them. So, and the things that he goes through, it's a really kind of like your 7 yards there.
Mm-hmm.
It really looks at humanity really well.
Mm-hmm.
You've got love and not love,
Mm.
and you definitely have sanity and insanity and all sorts of other things. So it's a good mix.
Huh. Okay. Catch-22.
Yeah.
Was it? Has there been a movie called that before?
Yes, there has been a movie version of it.
Mhm.
It was a long time ago. I think Alan Arkin was in the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, because I was about to say it sounds like they have done that before, but I guess this is another take on it. I guess.
Yeah. It's solid.
Okay. We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Kazak, I know you haven't watched anything.
yeah,
Now you're reading books and stuff. Man, what's that all
Oh,
about?
come on.
Oh.
It's not
Well,
book-
You trying to get educated on us?
No. This one actually ties well in the film.
Because they made a movie about it? Is that the tie-in?
Well, I mean, it's sort of- no. What I chose was a find at the library, because again, I go to the library. I just don't read, and I'm poor.
Man.
But what I found was a 20th anniversary edition of The Hellbound Heart, the original novella that Clive Barker used to base the Hellraiser series off of.
Oh, okay.
This one comes with, of course, the novella, the original story, but it also comes with some of Clive Barker's original sketches from his concepts for Hellraiser.
Okay.
You get an introduction from Ashley Lawrence, the actress who played Kirsty, and you get some wonderful insights into the production process. You also get an annotated first chapter from Clive Barker's actual notes that he was using to develop the script for Hellraiser.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
like I said, if you're into the series, if you're into horror, if you're into Clive Barker and all of that, this is a really just kind of nice capture of the novella, because it's novella itself. The short story that basically became Hellraiser. You get to see
Huh.
kind of the developmental process that
Okay.
Clive was going through at the time to make this amazing series. Because again, like I said, this is a film that got its budget cut, it got a whole bunch of stuff taken out of it, and you see the imagination that went into making this just horrific story. And Clive Barker is still visceral. Language is, it's a frightening story.
Mm-hmm.
And to see how much of it actually translated onto screen.
Okay.
20 years later, and out of Clive Barker's sick, twisted imagination, it's really, really good. So, like I said, if you're a fan of Clive Barker, Hellraiser, or any of that, go pick this one up, because again, it's a really interesting look at the creative process that became this wonderful horror movie that's years and years old.
Hellbound Heart.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Okay. Well, film fans, we couldn't do this episode without talking about the Oscars, so we are definitely going to do that. So here's how we're going to set this up. We're going to just essentially tell you what our favorite winners of all times were in 4 categories. We're going to tell you about the best male actress, female actress, movie, and then director. But before we do that, because we know that some of you are going to watch tonight, Kazak is going to kind of give us a rundown on who is up for these Oscars this year, mostly because we haven't seen a lot of these films. A lot of these films are pretty abstract. A few of them I have seen. So to do that justice, we figured we would just kind of talk about that and then let you comment in the comment section below if you've seen these, what you like, or which ones you think should win the race. But Kazak, we turn it over to you.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this. We will start with the nominees for Best Picture, and Best Picture are Judas and the Black Messiah,
Saw it.
Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, The Father, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
I saw that one. So I saw two of those.
Yeah. I think the picks you were saying, because I know you were looking at some of this earlier, you're saying the pick is Nomadland?
Yeah, the popular pick from Hollywood is probably going to be Nomadland, just based off of how much they put out there to advertise that this was great.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
I don't think I heard of most of those.
Will the marketing affect the nominees?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into Best Actor. Best Actor, Riz Ahmed from Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Stephen Ewan for Minari.
Right. So out of those, I've seen two or three. I think Anthony Hopkins is probably going to be the one that'll be the pick that everybody will want, not because he can't act. It's because he can act, and maybe to some degree because of his age, this could be the last chance he could probably get one. So I get a sense that they're probably going to go with him. If there was a secondary pick, it would probably be Chadwick Boseman because it'd be posthumously, because that hasn't happened very many times, but just a few. So, but I'm going to probably lean that they'll probably go with Anthony Hopkins.
It could, yeah. But I mean, like I said, it is the last chance to give Chadwick his. So that's
right.
That's a real strong possibility.
And so what that's going to turn into is a generational thing, because the older generation is going to say Anthony Hopkins, and the younger generation is going to say, no, that's Chadwick Boseman for us because he's Black Panther, he's James Brown, he's Jackie Robinson.
Yeah. All right, Best Actress, Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, so the pick here is going to be Viola Davis for because she is well loved and she is thought of very highly in many circles. The stealer there could be probably the young lady from, was it the something woman? The
Promising Young Woman.
The Promising Young Woman.
Yeah,
she could. What was her name again?
Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan. So she has a strong possibility on an outside shot, but I'm going to think that they're probably going to go with Viola Davis.
Yeah, unless they go tried and true and they go Frances McDormand. So,
yes.
Because again, she's a multiple-time nominee, fantastic actress, and a lot of folks were pulling from Nomadland. So,
yes, there are. And where this gets tricky too, folks, is that sometimes it's about they're saying, well, we can't let Nomadland win all of them, so we'll let them lose in this one, but we'll let them win the big picture. So there's a lot of that kind of thing going on, and we just don't know. And I think Viola Davis could probably win mainly because, too, not only do they love her, but the fact that they probably won't let that picture win Best Pictures, but they'll at least give it something by giving it to Viola Davis for Best Actress.
All right, best, and our last category we'll go over Best Director, Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland.
And it's going to be Nomadland already because the hype, and then to have two female directors in there, they're going to say something like, well, we can't not do this. So I think Nomadland is probably going to be your pick there that you will see. If not, I think you could make a strong case for Mank with Gary Oldman in that as well. Yeah. But he would be an underground pick in a way.
I mean, it's David Fincher. David Fincher, who multiple time nominee. This might be the one that gets it for him.
I hope so. To me, that's what should win.
Hollywood loves celebrating Hollywood, and that's what Mank is all about.
That's true. That's true.
It's a possibility. So,
yes.
All right.
So we'll find out later, but you guys tell us in the comment section who you think, and then with that, we're going to go ahead and move into our favorite picks. And so, Johnny, let's get into it. Tell us your best actor. We'll go all the way around, then we'll do the next one and go all the way around. So,
okay, my pick for best actor, who's won an Oscar, is Forrest Whitaker for The Last King of Scotland. Yeah. I've always been a fan of Forrest Whitaker's films, but that one was really impressive. Gosh, I haven't seen it in quite a while, so I really had to jog my memory for this one. But
Well, it was set up
I
well.
really loved, because he's a very charismatic person in the first place, and I really thought he did a phenomenal job becoming even bigger than life in this film. I thought, you know, you could see how he could suck everybody into his orbit, and that I think really sealed it on this film.
Yeah, I think that was great. Kazak, what do you think?
Forrest Whitaker is an absolutely great pick for this because, I mean, like I said, he's really transformative as Idi Amin. I mean, it is a chilling performance. You sometimes you forget just how frightening this real man was, and Forrest Whitaker just absolutely brings him to life. He's friggin' terrifying, man.
Yes, he is. So yeah, I totally agree. I thought that when I first heard that he was even nominated, I thought, well, excellent. Well, if he gets nominated, he damn sure could probably win this. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So, Kazak, how about you? Who's your best actor?
All right. So my best actor pick, kind of a slam dunk, but definitely a great pick for the particular role that it was, and that's Jack Nicholson. For his role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as Randall Patrick Murphy.
Yes, sir.
Again, it is a definitive performance from Jack Nicholson, and the fact that he is all over the place. He's every level as a bit of crazy, and again bringing a character to life from Ken Kesey's novel. It's heartbreaking, and it's funny, and it's desperate, and it's just every wonderful level that Jack Nicholson is capable of, and it is just the definitive role for him. So it's definitely my pick for favorite.
Absolutely. 1975. By the way, Jack Nicholson had a birthday this week. So his birthday, I think, was Monday or Tuesday. So he had a birthday this week, and as looking it up, he's cited as being the one male actor that's won the most awards, which I didn't realize that he'd won the most. You think about the nomination process, then you think about who actually won. But he's won 3 times the Oscar, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And happy birthday to Jack.
And there you go.
And so my pick for this, I'm going to go back to 2004. I'm going to go to it's a biopic. It's Ray, and that stars Jamie Foxx, who, you talk about charisma. You talk about a guy. This guy can sing, he can act. He could dance. He played sports. He was very athletic as well. Was trying to, So when you think of him playing Ray, a beloved figure, and the fact that, once again, you have to play this person who's vision impaired and put on the glasses and stuff. How do you do that without mimicking and almost making fun of, in a way, with the performance? And you have to think about that, right? And so, they say acting is reacting. And so he has to try to react in a world where he can't see anything at all. And he has sight as a little boy, but then loses his sight. So he knows how even worse that is. If you've never had sight, that's one thing, but to have sight and then lose it, right? And so just seeing the demons that plagued him, some of the bitterness that he had, and how he was really hardcore, shrewd businessman as much as he was a very soulful singer. But yeah, all the hits, the songs in it too make it great. But Jamie Foxx, I mean, you thought he was Ray Charles. He sold that very well.
Yeah. Again, Jamie Foxx, a great all-around performer, but this one, like I said, really kind of takes it home in the fact that you have a really celebrated icon in Ray Charles, and the fact that he brings him to life and fully realizes him, and faults and all. It's a really good, strong pick.
Yeah, well, it's very, very good. Let's look now at Best Actress. So, Johnny, let's look at that category. What do you think there?
Okay. This one's an interesting one for me, but as big a fan as I am of action films, I really love a good drama. I love seeing character development. I love seeing the interaction between people developed really well. And so, while I'm not a particular fan of this actress, it is a film that I've seen, and so I went with Jennifer Lawrence from Silver Linings Playbook. I did like the film. I've only watched it once, though, but I did like the fact that you did get a look at a kind of a toxic relationship that actually kind of is heartwarming in a way.
Yeah.
because you do. Everybody gets that sense, I think, that sometimes you just need somebody that is on the same level of you as you that gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that film did a really good job of portraying that well. Do I necessarily think she deserved an Oscar for it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have a clue what she was up against for the Oscar that year, but you know, not a bad one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she played well off of Bradley Cooper in that film, and you also had the emphasis on mental health, which I thought was really good. That they were trying to show that, you know, sometimes while people can act with aberrant behaviors, there's also times where there's some chemical deficiencies in someone that's also leading to these tendencies to be very abrupt and these sort of things. And so, and how well we treat people who we think have mental illness and not. So yeah, that film covered a lot of ground, and you can't say that she didn't do well, right? So
Yeah.
I don't blame you there. In fact, I should look that up and find out who she was up against, and so I'll probably do that here as we're talking. So
Yeah.
Okay, Zach, what about you? Who's your best actress?
All right, my pick was Charlize Theron from Monster.
Okay.
If you haven't seen this film, that honestly, the picture of a damaged individual being completely terrorizing, you know, transformative. Because I mean, Charlize Theron is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, she's an absolutely striking woman. But
Yes,
the
she
fact
is.
that they transformed her
Yes.
into this, you know, bitter, broken, ugly woman who does terrible things out of desperation and anger. It's just an amazing role to watch her take on the dynamic between her and Christina Ricci, to watch her take on, you know, everything that's thrown up against her, and you know, just watch this, you know, person who's already broken, break down even further and just go on killing after killing. It's frightening. It's a frightening performance from a really, really good actress who makes, you know, some really strong choices and things like that. And I mean, she's transformative in the role, which is when I pick an actor, when I see an actor, I want to see them get lost in the role. And Charlize really loses herself in this one, man.
Yeah. She puts herself on the map to say that she's just not a pretty face or someone who made it just because she's a former model. And so being a white South African, stepping in and playing this role, which would be, I think this woman was considered, the role of the woman that she's playing is considered like the first female serial killer, right? So if I remember that correctly, she was, so there's some that going on with it too. But yeah, you're exactly right. She's transformative. You do not see Charlize Theron when you're looking at this picture. In fact, you may not even know that's her.
Yeah,
If you just,
If you know who Charlize Theron is, and you see this movie, like that's her. Because I mean, they did, you know, phenomenal makeup, and again, she just drops herself into the role entirely. And good God, is it scary?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I totally agree with that pick. I think that is a good one. And so who I went with is I went back to 1990. So I went to a movie called Misery, and I love Kathy Bates in that film. Yes. So Kathy Bates, here's this person. No one's really heard much about Kathy Bates. It's not like she's this big household name yet. And she plays this person who has this famous author who's staying at her house, and everybody knows about the whole sledgehammer and the ankles thing and that bit. But you get this sense of the derangement and then this fandom gone too far, and it crosses over the line of when are you just a fan to the point where you're really in a psychopathic type state in terms of how much you will be willing to love this thing but then hurt this thing at the same time if it doesn't give you what you think you need. So it goes into that deep psychosis. Kathy Bates lets you feel that in almost everything. In some moments she's funny, and you can laugh at some of the things she says because of the word choice that they wrote in there for her, like cockadoodie and all this other stuff, that when she's trying to be mad, right, that she still says things that kind of make you laugh, but she stays in character and doesn't crack up herself. And you just get the sense this person is absolutely loaded on something, or I feel so bad for James Caan. How is he going to get out of this situation? Because that woman, though she's a female, is imposing. She's a 10 times better version of Nurse Ratched, if you will, in terms of the intent of her evilness, where she can go. And Kathy Bates plays that deliciously. Like, you eat up every moment that there's a person out there like that. would probably do something crazy like that, right? And that's what Eminem, when he writes that song, Hey Stan, about the fan that's obsessed about him, right? So you get this sense here, but here in someone who's in love with this author or loves this book author so well, who happens to stay at her place. So Kathy Bates, incredible performance. What do you think of that one, as a horror movie fan?
Well, as
or
a horror
Stephen
movie
King?
fan, she's really completely chilling in the film because she's a sympathetic monster.
Yeah.
She does absolutely terrible things, and she's absolutely out of her mind, but you see how she got there. You see her psychosis. You see her loneliness and her isolation. But you also see James Caan, like I said, fuel her performance by, finding out who she is. And, when you take on, that Stephen King role and you bring this horrifying monster to life with not only, all the pathos and the anger that comes with this character, but also the sympathy and the hurt and just the absolute exhaustion from this woman. It's just portrayed perfectly by Kathy Bates. She was an absolutely perfect choice for this film, and it's the role of a lifetime. And for her, it really is just a monster brought to life, and is, like I said, one of the most dangerous monsters you can have is a sympathetic one because you can see how she got there.
Yeah.
Perfect pick, man.
Yeah, wow, that's right there. So now,
and like I said, one of my, I kind of want to get into this because you said Nurse Ratched, you dropped in Louise Fletcher, who was also an Academy Award nominee.
Yes.
Like I said, going back to Jack Nicholson, she fuels that performance too.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, like I said, again, you talk about these caregivers, these people who are just, who are supposed to take care of you. And you have that really just kind of frightening transition into, like I said, these monsters who have such power. Kathy Bates is really just that one side of it. Louise Fletcher is the other because she's calm, controlled, and things like that, whereas Kathy Bates just goes completely off the rails.
Yes.
So you get kind of two kind of dynamic choices in that, and like I said, they're both really great picks. And like I said, with Louise winning her Oscar and Kathy winning her Oscar for very much a similar role, it's interesting to see how Hollywood votes in that, even 15 years apart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's amazing how certain themes keep coming back in the movies, and then it's just these great screenplay writers and these directors that are saying, no, we can make this come alive. We can make this stand out and be different because there's more things we've learned since then, right? So when you look at Nurse Ratched, you get a sense of the screenplay for that, okay, we want to show how we treat people who we feel have mental illnesses, and so that film is trying to give you that social message at the same time as well. And then you take it and someone says, well, what if it's already got horrific leanings to it or horror leanings to it? What if Stephen King was to write some version and show you what that might look like? And so now you get the complete over-the-top Kathy Bates now showing you how she can completely be just this character that on some level you empathize with her, but at the same time, what she's doing is absolutely just evil, and you get scared of her, even though at the same time you want to embrace her. Just feeling sorry for being isolated. So no, I think that's a solid point.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 categories down, 2 more to go. So we know Best Actor is always a big thing.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
We got plenty of time. So let's take a look then at Best Picture, because this is also one of the big ones. And so, Johnny, Best Picture, what was your pick of your favorite?
Being a huge idea guy and a strategist, Argo really spoke to me.
Yes, thank you. That was so good.
I was really drawn into it because I love the idea of problem solving.
Yep.
And boy, did they. You take a very volatile time in U.S. history, lots of conflict in the Middle East, and now you've got a problem to solve. Got to get people out. How do you do that, without causing an incident? And I love that creative process of trying to figure out how to do it, bringing the team together to make it all work. It's not unlike a bank heist movie, right?
Yep.
In that regard.
Right.
But it's got to be more realistic. It's more settled. There's real consequences here. And that's the one thing about these bank heist movies. There's never really any consequences in those films, right? It's all about having fun.
You get caught, you go to jail.
Yeah, this is not about having fun. This is about saving lives.
Yes.
And so that makes it really tense, and I love that. So, funny enough, I was never really a big fan of Ben Affleck's at all until Argo.
Yes.
And he kind of blew me away with it. So.
Yeah, I think that this is great for several reasons, because not only did he direct it, but he acted in it. So for people that just, think about Jiggly and a couple other films that he was in that were horrible, Ben Affleck has shown you that he's grown in that time frame, right? Truly. So he has some stinkers, but he was good in this. He was also good in the one that was set in Boston. The Town, yeah. So, and he directed that one as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's shown that he's got the chops. And so this one is even great, too, because you have Alan Arkin and George Clooney. Yeah. But also the idea that the premise is great, that, hey, in order to sync them out, we're going to pretend like we're a movie production company that's shooting a film. And you would think, no, that couldn't possibly happen. But that's really what they did. That's how they decided how they were going to get those hostages out of there. And so just the implausibility of that, plus who's directing it, and then who's lead acting in it. Yeah. That's a difficult thing to do, so yes.
Yeah. Of all of my picks, this is probably my favorite one.
Yeah. Love Argo. You saw it as well, didn't you, Kazak?
No, I have not seen this one.
Oh, my gosh.
So this is one that I definitely need to kind of check out, because I've heard so many good things about it. I never thought Ben Affleck director was going to work. So like I said, it's one that I definitely need to get a look at.
Yeah, you'll like it. I mean, because remember at this time, because this was 2012 when that film had come out. Yes. And the films that it beat, so it beat Beast of the Southern Wild, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Les Miserables, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30. That's some pretty big competition. Yeah. And yet Ben Affleck got that, so that's pretty huge. And remember, not long after that, people were upset because when they heard he was going to be cast as Batman, people were still thinking of the Ben Affleck from Jiggly and from Daredevil, right? Yeah. And they were like, "No, there's no way he could play this. He's not a great actor. He's not good, except for maybe Good Will Hunting. He was all right, but that wasn't about him. It was, And so remember that when people were kind of upset, about Ben Affleck playing Batman?
People have always been upset about Ben Affleck. Honestly, there is nothing this guy can do right. Because he does everything right.
Yes.
You can absolutely hate the guy, but you can't hate the guy you got to respect for what he's done.
It's actually really funny that you say that, because there have been a few films recently that I've told friends, hey, you should watch this, and they're like, I don't like Ben Affleck. I'm like, no, you really should watch this. I didn't like him for the longest time. Yeah, he's changed. I like him.
Yes, and
he's grown.
I own this movie, so I don't buy every movie out there because I don't think they're all great. And I'm one of those guys that I don't have to have the complete collection. If 1 and 2 is great and 3 sucks, I don't buy 3 just to have a collection. I'm just not that guy. So when it came to this, especially with Ben Affleck, I'm like, you got to give him props, man. You can hate him for some of his bad stuff, but how many actors have movies that are in their repertoire that really weren't that great movies? But people have to remember that people take these movies because it's a job. So you want to get paid, so you're going to take movies. But somewhere in there should be some standout films, and this for sure for Ben Affleck. If they weren't convinced by watching The Town, have you seen The Town?
I have, yeah.
You'll like that one. Yeah. If you liked Argo, you'll definitely like The Town. And so to see that and to see that transition, I mean, it's good. It's good to see.
Yep.
I am that guy, but I collect horror movies, so, I do collect them because I do like having my physical copies. So yeah, but then again, I go look through my horror collection. I have April Fool's Day. I have My Bloody Valentine, things like that. So because I am that guy who likes to collect that stuff. So
sure. Oh, we've established that about you a long time ago, Kazak.
Indeed. All right.
Your film, sir.
All right. So again, if you watch this show for any length of time, you probably know what I'm going to pick here, and that's going to be The Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Again, one of the first horror films to actually win Best Picture. You have this is the second go-around for this movie because it originally came out as Manhunter, and then they really take off with it. You have Anthony Hopkins as the brilliant Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You have Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling. You have John Glenn, and of course you have just a phenomenal, like I said, cast who puts everything into the role. But also, like I said, it's really well made by Jonathan Demme because it really is a well-structured crime drama written by Thomas Harris. You get into the mindset of a terrible serial killer, and also the young FBI agent who's assigned to catch him. But in the midst of that, you're also dealing. To catch a killer, you have to get into the mind of a killer, and you get into the mind of a killer with Anthony Hopkins, and you see him pull and manipulate strings, and you have a phenomenally well-layered structure in the fact that you're trying to catch one of his former patients, things like that. So you have ties, and you have relationships, and you have the dynamic between Dr. Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling. You have him pulling the strings, but you have her, having to feel her way throughout the whole thing, and you have her in that really dynamic showdown between her and Buffalo Bill. All of it, all the way down, is just really well made, really well captured on screen, and just a well-structured crime drama that has horrific elements into it, because you have the terror of Hannibal Lecter and Hannibal Lecter getting out. You have, the manipulation of the doctor, Frederick Chilton, who really comes in after trying to manipulate the situation when he has no control over one of the brilliant minds. You have just these great rich characters involved in a really well-structured drama that goes terror all the way down. And I mean, it is edge of your seat watching the whole thing. And I mean, as me, and not only as a horror guy, but also being the guy who's attracted to the smartest guy in the room, Dr. Hannibal Lecter is the smartest guy in the room, and to see his escape. I remember being like 13 years old or 12 years old and watching this in the theater and laughing the whole time because I know what's coming. People turning around at me going, well, how can you laugh at this? Like, because he's brilliant. And, like I said, being the only guy in the theater laughing, that's a really kind of big echo. But knowing what's coming, because I'd read the book and getting to see the movie the first time and see it play out on screen, because again, it really holds well to the book.
Yes.
It's so good. And like I said, for it being the first horror film to take home the prize, it's a really well done and well deserved reach out from the horror community.
It actually was. I mean, so this film came out in 1991, and so it won its Oscar in 1991, so it beat out films like Beauty and the Beast, Bugsy, JFK, The Prince of Tides. So that was what it was up against, and I would say that was still a solid pick.
I don't think you had competition in that year other than JFK, and even then, like I said, I can't remember if Oliver Stone won the director or won it for that or not. But and that year, Silence of the Lambs blows them all away.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was that year they were on it. I think they did the right thing. And
Absolutely.
so the best picture for me, and again, this is really difficult because there's a couple of films that I actually really enjoyed and thought were great, but I'm going to give the love to Ridley Scott with Gladiator in 2000. Okay, so here's a movie here where you have performance by Russell Crowe that's incredible. The supporting cast, Jaimin Hansu is one of the warriors, the African warrior, and then Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, this is prefiguring the guy that's going to play Joker later, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at Gladiator, you love it right off the bat. And how many times is this movie quoted for the different things? Are you not entertained? And then there's just these moments where in the film, Russell Crowe just embodies the soldier who's just, he's ripped from everything in his family, everything from his life, and you can't help but to root for the gladiator. You want to see him, and you want to see him just take that sword and just go to town on Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin Phoenix plays the excellent, just the adversary, the antagonist, the villain. You want to see him get his just due, and you want to make sure that it's Russell Crowe that does it. Like, this film would not have been good at all if it had been somebody else that would have got in there and got to Joaquin Phoenix. You wanted to see, I want to see Gladiator come in there, and I want to see Joaquin Phoenix with all of his dirt and his filth and his griminess and his shadiness. and his arrogance, and then his insecurity, and almost some of this kind of incestual vibe he was giving off towards his sister and all that sort of stuff. You just want to see this guy get it. And then when you see how the Gladiator, how many people now go down and grab the ground and you know, take a little sample of it before they go do something. I've seen some MMA fighters act like they're, even though they're in a ring, I've seen them touch the ground a little bit because they're trying to channel the Gladiator, right? Johnny, what did you think of that film?
Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen it, but it leaves a mark on you for sure. What I love about it really was you take this guy who he's so successful as a general. He didn't get there by accident. He didn't get there by just happening to be at the right place at the right time or anything like that. He earned that. So when he gets in the ring, he's fearless. Yeah. He's already done this.
Yes.
This is nothing new for him. You know? Is there danger? Sure. But there's always been danger. So he's, to me, the perfect picture of just stoic fortitude in that. Just get it done.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. No, that's great. How about you, Zach?
There are two directors who really capture spectacle well, and that's James Cameron and Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott really takes on the spectacle of the arena in this film. He really takes on, you know, how combat should look. You see, you know, the wonderful camera work on this. Wasn't this like technologically advanced for camera? Didn't it, like,
it was.
Didn't they switch, like, the frame?
It was, because as you remember, CGI was just catching on in the
Yeah.
late 90s, and so Star Wars had done it with their prequels, and it was CGI in this as well with the tiger and all that stuff inside there, and how they recreated the Rome Coliseum. So this was at the very, very beginning of CGI.
Yeah, and you're really getting, like I said, that combat well thought out in front of that audience, well out. You're seeing, you know, the big broad picture of people in the. You really get that feeling of the Roman arena at that time. You know, it's brilliantly filmed. Of course, like I said, you've got Russell Crowe, you've got Joaquin Phoenix. Everybody in this film just gives a phenomenal performance in this, and the spectacle of it is really worth seeing.
Yeah. You're making my heart pounding thinking about that all over again, the way you're describing that. Seriously.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but man, I listening to you, I feel like I'm sitting there watching it again in the theater.
You know what? And I'll say this. I'll add this to that as well before we go to the last one, right? And I'll say this. Marvel, this is how you do humor. The film Gladiator, with all of its killing and combat and, you know, people scheming and the Roman Senate doing what they were doing and all that kind of crap going on, there's two scenes, right, where they use humor effectively in this film. And so Marvel and also Star Wars, okay, all this, who talks first? You talk first? I can't understand what you're saying with that mask on. That crap? No. This film had two scenes in it where humor, it didn't need to overdo everybody smocking and everybody having a smart aleck remark for everything, but two scenes, right? And the one scene I always remember is the scene where the bigger guy that's part of their crew in the Gladiator, he eats the food for him to make sure it's not poisoned. And so he eats the food for the Gladiator, and then he acts like he's choking and stuff like that, and you see him get shook a little bit, and then he starts laughing about it. And it's like, that's just a fun gag. It wasn't overthought. He didn't go, hey, you talk first, I talk first. Hey, you stab first, I stab first. It was none of that BS. And then the other one is when he's talking to Jaimin Hansu, right? And the Gladiator has these little figures that represents his family, him and his wife, and he's just longing because he doesn't have them anymore. And he's like, Jaimin Hansu's character says, what's that? What are those? And he goes, this is my family. He goes, really? And that one there? That's my boy. He says, if he was here today, I would tell him, you know, keep your heels down when you're riding. And he goes, and that one? That's my wife. And he goes, yeah? Well, what do you say to her? Never mind what I say to her. Right? And that was funny. This is the stoic Gladiator, but it's put in the right place, the right time, and then they don't go off into a quip fest. It's just, they sit that there, you laugh, you think it's funny, and then they go in to back to more of here's what they have to deal with, and drudgery is being a slave. So again, that's how you do comedy. But anyway, we'll keep going. So last category here, we're looking at best director. So Johnny, who did you put that one on?
This one for me was Kevin Costner directing Dances with Wolves.
Okay.
To me, it's not, looking back across all the movies I've ever watched, it's not one that I just absolutely adore or have to watch again or anything like that. But looking at this for today, it was the one that really captured my attention because, as we've talked about before with Unforgiven, in the previous episode, you have most Westerns, most cowboy films, all those types of films, they're looking at violence and dirt and grit and things of that nature. And Dances with Wolves is a love poem for a time past.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
He treats it with delicacy. And yes, there's violence in it, but it's still handled kind of lovingly in a way, because that's not the focus of the film.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of why I chose this one today. It gives a different feeling.
Yeah.
And I think he did a really good job with that. So, Kevin Costner, decent enough actor. Decent enough.
Right.
Decent enough to make movies.
Right.
But
how does he keep getting work? Oh, I'm sorry.
is he though? Because I haven't seen him in forever.
Well,
the last thing I saw him was getting blown away by a tornado in Man of Steel. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
see how easily I forgot that?
Yeah, he's in the
should
series
direct some
of
more.
He's in the series of Yellowstone that's running
Oh,
into
yeah?
its third season, going into its fourth. So yeah, but it's okay though. But in movie wise,
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
Directing it, yeah, I thought he did a decent job.
Yeah. You know what?
I have no idea what it was up against. I've never really paid attention to awards too much, but
Yeah, well, we can definitely check that out. So that was, you said Dancing with Wolves, right?
yeah.
What year was that?
I don't remember.
1990, 91?
Yeah, it was early 90s.
Because 91, that's what Silence of the Lambs won that one.
Okay,
So
so I think it was 1990 maybe.
wait to 1990? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Actually, it was 1990. So what it was up against was, ooh, wait a minute.
Oh.
It was,
Yeah?
wow. No. I'm going to throw the flag.
Oh, this is interesting.
It was up against Awakenings, which was an incredible movie with De Niro and Robin Williams.
Yep.
That's crazy. It went up against Ghost.
Yeah.
The Godfather Part 3, which wasn't the best one, but Goodfellas. And I would take Goodfellas over Dances with Wolves any day of the week.
Interesting.
But it's interesting that that's what it was up against, and The Awakenings was great. I had almost forgotten about that movie. That was such a great film. But nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. That was your pick, man.
That's a really broad spectrum of nominees. That was when you weren't getting the same film over and over again. You really you have pretty broad spectrum. You have medical drama. You have your gangster film, and you have you have the spectacle of Dances with Wolves. That's a pretty broad field for them to go after. And of course, Godfather Part 3. That's not necessarily a great film, but
And look at that. Look how crazy it is. It wasn't a great film, yet it made it and got nominated.
Coppola.
Right?
Yeah, it's Coppola.
Yeah.
How are you not going to nominate Coppola?
Right? Well, that's true. And here's Irvin Winkler with The Goodfellas, which was way better than Godfather 3. And so there's two mafia movies there. Then Ghost.
Which might have canceled each other out.
Yeah, which kind of cancels each other out. And then, but to me, it's like Awakenings, man. That was such a great film. Did you ever seen that film?
No.
Yeah,
The performances in that really drive that, but it's not a visually stunning film. Dances with Wolves as a film in and of itself is a spectacle, and
that's a fair point.
Given the time, given the score, and given that it's Kevin Costner's first shot as a director, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's certainly a big deal. And Awakenings, Johnny, real fast, is so you've got a patient, De Niro, who there's this drug that they can come up with. So they're all in an
he's a catatonic patient.
Yeah, he's a catatonic patient that's in this facility, right? And Robin Williams is the kind of like the overseer, the doctor that's kind of overseeing all of that stuff. And so these people they're all catatonic, they're all just out of life. And so someone says, hey, there's this drug that we can give them that will make them live again. And so what we're watching is they he wants to take the drug because he wants that freedom to escape and be like what he was when he was younger and stuff. And you talk about an acting performance out your ass. This was it. I mean, De Niro, you see him just catatonic and how he's just nothing. And then when they give him the shot and eventually he does get free and he's talking to women again and he's doing all these things and he wants to go outside and you see this, he wants to escape. You see this knowing that it's only a trial-tested thing that won't last forever, but only for a moment, right? And then when you see him go from being alive and just a person, and you see him, and it's starting to deteriorate on him, and it's starting to fade on him, and you see him slowly starting to become small. You start to see him become a shell again, and you start to see him go back, and he's sitting in the chair, and you see him just, and his neck is going, and his head's going, and De Niro is acting his ass off. And then you see Robin Williams, the care and concern, because he's their overseer. He cares for them. And he saw this guy who was 15 years old again in his mind and in his body for a little bit go back. And to see a comedian play that kind of a role, right? And this is early on in Robin Williams' career, right? And so he's playing
not necessarily early on, but him being taken more seriously as an actor.
True.
This is one of his big serious roles.
Yeah.
Because again, you know him for comedy and things like that. But I mean, this is kind of one of his big steps into a dramatic role.
Yeah, the dramatic role. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, that's exactly right. And how about you, Zach?
The
director.
I chose kind of a new kid on the block on this one. Because I went through the list of directors and things like that, and the one that I chose was Alejandro González Iñárritu for The Revenant. This guy really gets how to do the best film with what's available today. You see him make brilliant motions, not only with you see Birdman as one flowing scene, and then you see The Revenant, which is just this brutal film. He gets a phenomenal performance out of Leonardo DiCaprio. But like I said, you watch that scene where he's getting torn up by the bear, and you really believe he's getting torn up by the bear.
Right.
You see him go, and you see him, and this, you see him get this desperate performance out of Tom Hardy. Again, another brutal individual. The whole film is just brutal. It's man against elements. It's man against man. It's man against nature, and all of it together in this really kind of tight, 2-hour package, and all of it's just pure flowing action. And it's desperation, things like that. So not only does he get a director that gets the best out of his actors, but he also gets the best out of technology. He knows how to use CGI. He knows how to use editing. He knows how to use, cinematography and things like that. How to combine it all and make it a really visually stunning film that holds your attention for hours and hours and hours. The guy knows his stuff, and him being the first Spanish speaker, the first Spanish director to win the Oscar, things like that. He's breaking boundaries and things like that. He is really a director for this age of filmmaking, and I really look forward to seeing what he does next, because the man is a dynamite artist. The man is a dynamite, has a great view of it, and he knows how to use the tools that he has at hand to make a really good film. Not just a movie, but film.
Right. And there is a distinction. So in 2015, what he was up against was The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, the Steven Spielberg film, which actually was really good, Brooklyn, Mad Max, Fury Road, which a lot of people loved Furiosa in that movie, The Martian, which actually did win something for, Matt Damon got to win something for that award. Then, of course, The Room. So pretty big group that he was going up against. And, of course, he didn't win. Spotlight won that year, but at least he won for director.
Yeah, because, again, like I said, he's a director who knows spectacle. Yeah. But not only just spectacle, but intimate but intimacy and things like that, and human nature and things like that. It's really, a brutal movie, but it's so good.
Yeah.
So
No, it was. I can't tell you that I'd seen better use of camera work when trying to focus on the setting and then back on the characters, and then the setting and then the characters. Like the way he was able to zoom out, zoom back in, but make you not realize how quickly he was doing that, where you got the full scale of what was happening. So the cinematography and the way he would line up shots too, I thought was pretty good, because sometimes people just shoot a scene where two people are talking and they just kind of pull back. But it's different when you pull and you're shooting from down low or something like this up to kind of give a sense of height and scale, and or if you shoot from up top, like they're smaller and you're in a building. So just his idea of scale and his visionary, because like when you talk about a director, you have to talk about how they see the world, right? Because that's part of it, because that's what they're going to capture.
Right, and using light with fire. And,
oh my gosh.
Or blizzard snow, and of course that chase between him and Tom Hardy, just watching him chase him down, just dear God, it is the edge. It's edge of your seat filmmaking, man.
Yeah, no, it was very solid. I definitely enjoyed that film as well. So I think so for my director, who I picked was I went back to 1992. Also, like Argo, someone who's an actor and a director. This would be Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, because again, I can't step away from the fact that this is a Western at a time when Westerns were starting to already fade, and he still found a new twist on it. The whole idea, unforgiven. Can you be forgiven after you've done some horrible things, and you've self-admitted that you've done horrible things? Can you? And so just showing that whole idea. And this is Clint Eastwood. This is the guy who, in most of the movies before this in Westerns, he had very few lines. It was just more of that the camera pulled up on his face. And it was just, he said most of the things with that glint in his eye and the cracks around his eyes, and just that gaze, the stoic gaze that never changed no matter what kind of situation.
His camera loves him.
Yes. And so now you say, okay, well, he's going to get behind a camera. Is he really going to be able to be a good cinematographer and try to understand what should be on there? Will he be able to tell the cinematographer, this is the scene I want, this is how I want it shot? Will he have that kind of depth? Because when you're acting, that's not even what you're thinking about, more likely. Yet here he is, and we know he's done $1 Million Baby. We know he did Gran Torino. He's done a lot of great movies from being on the other side of the camera. So when you have an actor who really isn't, no one's going to call him the best actor in the world. They wouldn't put him up against Daniel Day-Lewis and think he could beat Daniel Day-Lewis in an acting contest. But that he could play what he did play well, but then even be a better director. Yeah. That's crazy. And then the scripts that he chooses to do, right? They're great ones. He could have just said, nah, nobody's doing Westerns anymore. But he said, no, we're going to do this, and this is why we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do this. And then you still see, when you see a Clint Eastwood movie, you go, that's a Clint Eastwood movie. Because it's going to be straight to the point. We'll have a little bit of humor in here, but that's not the focus. It's just to maybe lighten the scene. But it's going to be dire, straight to the point, and he's going to have something to do with, you don't know what it's like to kill a man. Somewhere in there is that theme of, while you might think you're cold and you might think you're stoic, there's still a heart underneath that. You don't know. So in Gran Torino, tells that kid, that's what he tells him, you don't know what it's like to kill a man. I've done that in war, and I'll tell you, it's pretty damn terrible. Then you go back to this movie and a couple of his other movies, that same theme of like, you can be this stoic, but there's still a heart there, right? And then where do you go with all that darkness that you've been able to do when you were able to block out your heart, but then you still have to deal with your heart, right? So, yeah, I had to go with him on this. I was just like, there's several different directors I loved. Like, I could always go with Spielberg. I could always go with Lucas or something like that, but George Lucas didn't win, for Star Wars. They didn't win Best Picture or anything like that. So it's interesting. What about you, KZ?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a director here who he's one of the last directors who understands how to do the Western. And I mean, you go back to his first Western, 1973, High Plains Drifter, which is more a horror film than it is a Western.
True.
But I mean, Outlaw Josie Wales, Pale Rider, and Unforgiven. You've got some very distinctively different Westerns, but like I said, the drama of man against nature, man against man, things like that. He's really got an eye for what an intense close-up can do. Not just on him, but also out of his other directors, and he's not afraid to put that brutality on screen. Say what you will about the man's politics. The man understands not only he not only understands acting, but he also understands structure and story
and nuance.
Yeah,
he gets nuance.
Yeah. And I mean, you take a look at the breadth of his stuff, Everything from, you know, Play Misty for me to The Bridges of Madison County, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Mystic River, just The Mule, all of that stuff. Just what he does with the story and with, you know, desperate people in a desperate situation, and how the desperate man can come up and rise above. It really is something special to see, man.
That's right. And so Unforgiven wins in 1992. So what was it up against? The Crying Game, A Few Good Men, which is a solid movie. Howard's in, and then again, Scent of a Woman somehow made it to this list. What I'll say about this in 1992 is a huge omission here. The film that's missing is Malcolm X, and the fact that that wasn't one of the big films. And so if Malcolm X can't be here, then out of all these films, I want it to be Unforgiven.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Because in 1992, I mean, this is ridiculous that this is not, that Malcolm X wasn't one of the films.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's a crime.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's a topic for another show.
Yes, it is. We'll talk about that. And in fact, that is a good idea. So we can talk about people who won that we felt like shouldn't have won. We can also talk about people who should have won that didn't win. That's always a thing. Or movies that were omitted.
That's definitely next year's Oscar show.
Yeah.
That's definitely next year's Oscar show. We was robbed.
Yes, we were definitely robbed when that year happened. So in 1992. So, but if you look at it in the 90s, check out this. So if you look at the 90s, the films that were winning, you have Dances with Wolves, which we brought up today. Silence of the Lambs, also brought up today. Unforgiven in 92. 93, Schindler's List. Forrest Gump in 95. Braveheart. The English Patient in 96. Titanic in 97, unfortunately. 98, Shakespeare in Love. We kind of got there with that. In 1999, it was American Beauty. So that was what we had in the 90s. It started stronger, and then it got weaker as it kind of
I don't
faded.
necessarily think it got weaker. I think it got more intimate. I think basically you had a bunch of films that were going for big spectacle and things like that. Then they kind of reversed course and kind of shifted downwards to more intimate stories, where you get stuff like Silver Linings Playbook, where you get stuff like The Crying Game and things like that, where you get those downshifts in filmmaking that basically, okay, not everything needs to be huge, and we can leave that huge stuff for Marvel. We can leave that huge stuff for things like that. So,
yeah, but see, I don't want Marvel to do all of it because it's too formulaic and it's the same damn movie.
You're not wrong. But again, we gotta get out of here. We got time to the show. Let's do shout outs and get out of here, man.
Okay, Johnny, who you shouting out to?
Today, shouting out to Courtney.
Okay, awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. UK, Zach?
Shouting out to everyone here on DallasOnAir.com. Again, tune into all the stuff that the station offers. We do want to shout out Jansen and Kat for giving us a home here every Sunday, but we do also want to shout out our counterparts on the Sundays we alternate with, and that's the Rancourt Pit Live with Cole Houston and Isle of Toys, which you can check out every third Sunday. Rancourt Pit every first and third Sunday right here on DallasOnAir.com. Check out BFB. Check out 12-Pack. Check out Say Something. Check out all the stuff that we offer right here at DallasOnAir.com. Promise you, you're going to dig something.
That's right. And I'm going to shout out to Brandy and Barry Austin, Sean Presley, Lauren Wiedauer, Tristan Fraser, Harry Thomas, Jedi Cole, Eddie Medina, Michael Paul, Daniel Mesa, to my boy Prim, Stephanie Crane, Scott Laney, and Sandra. So the next episode that you will see from us will be May 9th, and then the second episode will be May 23rd. But until then, we're going to send you guys to the Oscars with our thoughts and your thoughts. Peace.